Welcome to the final experiments. The final experiments are a preponderance of evidence against flat Earth, and the final experiments all confirm the globe. These experiments were all conducted in December of 2024 when 4 flat earthers and 4 globers went on a journey to Antarctica with me, Will Duffy. We spent time in Punta Arenas, Chile, which is at the southern tip of South America, before flying to Antarctica. This entire trip allowed us to conduct historic experiments and collect data firsthand from an area of the world that few people will ever have the opportunity to visit and do this themselves. Prior to my announcement of the final experiment in early 2024, a vast majority of flat earthers, with very few exceptions, promoted the Gleason's map of the world, which is an azimuthal equidistant projection. This map had the North Pole at the center and pushed the south to the outer perimeter of the known world. This made Antarctica an ice wall perimeter around all the world's continents, which served to hold in all the world's oceans. As flat earthers claim, water must have a container. It also extends the entire southern hemisphere into a larger and larger area, where on the globe, everything south of the equator gets closer and closer together. This made being at the southern tip of South America and in Antarctica the perfect place to test flat Earth claims and also confirm the globe predictions. Every single flat Earth claim failed. Every flat Earth prediction was demonstrably false. The final experiments are meant to be taken collectively, just like evidence in a court of law. Undoubtedly, flat earthers will attempt to discredit individual experiments we did while at the same time ignoring the rest. If they cannot provide an accurate map of the world and a working model that can account for the results of all of these final experiments collectively, that is because we do not live on a flat Earth. If they try to say these experiments are not actual experiments, but only observations, that is because they cannot reconcile our findings with a flat Earth. If they say that flat Earth does not make predictions, that is because making accurate and testable predictions based on a flat Earth is impossible because a flat Earth does not exist. You cannot make and test predictions based on something that is not real. Maps of the globe exist because the globe exists. The entire globe model exists because the globe exists. Countless globe predictions come true every single day, and countless future globe predictions will continue to happen exactly as predicted because the globe exists. If a flat earther tells you that there is no accurate flat Earth map and there is no working flat Earth model and that they don't make predictions, that is an implicit admission that a flat Earth does not exist. Because you can map things that exist. You can model things that exist. And you can make very specific predictions that come true based on something that actually exists and is testable. I created the final experiment to give both sides, flat Earth and globe, an equal opportunity to prove their side. Only the globe side returned with evidence supporting their position. The globe side returned with tons of concrete evidence that both accurately matches the globe model and also falsifies flat Earth. This brings us to shadow predictions. When it comes to science, predictions are the name of the game. To simplify science down as much as possible, science is about creating a hypothesis, making predictions, and then testing them. You simply can't do science without making predictions and then testing them. Flat earthers shy away from making claims and predictions, which means they seem to be unwilling to do actual science. And that's ironic because one of the most frequent charges against TFE is that what we did, our predictions and observations and data collected, do not meet the definition of an experiment.
So the final experiment is not final, and it's not an experiment. It's a guy who claims to be a pastor of a crappy little church in Denver.
So that's an observation. That's not an experiment. More fraud being peddled by Duffy.
In other words, the final experiment is not an experiment, and not even a demonstration, but merely an observation.
Yeah, there you go. It's an observation. You sitting in chairs staring at the sky is not an experiment. You're just staring at the sky.
It's an observation, Jaron, not an experiment. An observation that doesn't have any experiments to back its fundamental claims, Jaron.
Yeah, it's not an experiment, first of all. It's not the final anything. That's not how science works.
It's not an experiment. So therefore, we can't claim the final experiment as an experiment because it's not scientific.
Obviously, that's one thing that everyone keeps saying. I know you've heard that. There's no doubt in my mind you've heard that quite a few times. That's not an experiment. Because a scientific experiment has a dependent variable and naturally occurring observable phenomena. Then you have a hypothesis, a cause and effect relationship test. You presume a cause that you're going to test, and then you manipulate that independent variable or presumed cause in your experiment. And so, yeah, technically it's not a scientific experiment.
Now, of course, this is obviously just a way for them to attempt to avoid having to deal with our firsthand observations, which all matched the globe predictions and would be impossible on a flat Earth. But what flat earthers did not anticipate is that the final experiment excited a lot of people around the world, almost exclusively those on the globe side. And these people created additional experiments that we could conduct while in Antarctica. Today, we are going to highlight two of them. The first by YouTuber Where's Wally, and the second by Takach Janosch. These additional experiments both had to do with shadows, including very specific predictions as to the shadows we would experience at Union Glacier while in Antarctica. As I said before, every single flat Earth prediction concerning our trip to Antarctica was incorrect. And one of those predictions had to do with what shadows would do on a flat Earth, specifically on a flat Earth in Antarctica. Here, flat earther Dean Odell not only state that going to Antarctica would prove whether or not we live on a globe or a flat Earth, but he specifically makes a prediction as to what the shadows would do in Antarctica if the Earth was flat.
All we'd have to prove is go to Antarctica. Let me and you go to Antarctica, spend a week there in the summer, and let's see if the sun does a 360-degree circle all the way around us. If so, it's a ball. But if the sun comes in this way and then leaves that way, then it's not. It is what we say it is. And they have webcam videos, right? At Antarctica, and there'll be a flagpole sitting there. And so if the sun's coming in this way, you should have a shadow here, and then it comes in, and it should be here, and then it comes over here, and then it should just be back here.
Dean is absolutely correct. While at Union Glacier, right at 80 degrees south in Antarctica, we were south of the Tropic of Capricorn. The Tropic of Capricorn is the furthest south that anyone in the world ever has the sun directly above them. So on a flat Earth, the sun would need to complete its circuit, giving sunlight to the rest of the world every 24 hours. And it would do this without ever going above any observer in Antarctica. So the flat Earth prediction that there was not a 24-hour sun, combined with us being south of the Tropic of Capricorn, means the shadows would do exactly what Dean Odell described if we live on a flat Earth. Let's now compare his prediction to the predictions from the globe side. It would have been easy for anyone on the globe side to simply counter the flat Earth prediction and say that the globe predicts the shadows will actually go around objects all 360 degrees once per day. And that is exactly what we saw and experienced over 4 days at Union Glacier. But the globe model is so detailed and precise that some on the globe side made incredible predictions beyond shadows going 360 degrees around objects. These predictions were tied to the specific latitude and longitude of where TFE was going to be conducted in Antarctica and even the date. Popular YouTuber and flat Earth debunker Where's Wally created an incredible scientific instrument which he named the Jeranometer, as he is friends with Jaron Campanella, and he wanted Jaron to see the predictive power of the globe model. And this device was built specifically because we would be at 80 degrees south, just 10 degrees from the geographic South Pole. But more importantly, Wally's experiment had hypotheses, including both a null hypothesis and an alternative hypothesis, both dependent and independent variables, thereby meeting all the scientific rigor that so many from the flat Earth community claim TFE was lacking. Wally, take it away.
Now, I will indulge the first here and show just how easy the scientific process is if you want to do it at the 101 first year level. The final experiment is a scientific experiment to take place at Union Glacier from the 14th to the 18th of December in the year 2024. The question we seek to answer scientifically is there a 24-hour or midnight sun in Antarctica every summer? And from that answer, the next question will come, which is the Earth a rotating globe or a stationary flat plane? Step 1. We all, except for the flatties, see the observational natural phenomena of a 24-hour sun when the sun is fully visible all night and doesn't set. This is demonstrable reality. Let me refresh you on the null hypothesis, which was this, and the alternative hypothesis, which was this. This led to a prediction for each hypothesis. For the null hypothesis, it was predicted that sometime between midday and midnight, the sun will set below the horizon or just go away, and then rise above the horizon or come right back again. Oh, and as a bonus, all the globies there would be very sad. And as for the alternative hypothesis, it was predicted that the sun would be north at midday, west at 6 p.m, south at midnight, and east at 6 a.m, and that the elevation angle of the sun would be above horizontal and would always be within the range of 13 to 33 degrees roughly, and that the azimuth angle rate of change would be a consistent 15 degrees per hour. Thanks, Bob. That led to a set of requirements that my scientific experiment needed to do. The geronometer with 2 dials, one to measure the azimuth angle and one to measure the elevation angle. Okay, back to the science and the prediction. This is what I predicted we would see. The red line is the globe Earth predictions and the blue line is the FLIRF predictions. Finally, I measured and recorded the azimuth angle of the shadow at the top of the hour and also measured and recorded the elevation angle as well. Now I popped these data into a spreadsheet to calculate and scale the hour angle into an azimuth degrees, and then I plotted both dependent variables against time. And this is how it looked. Do I need to show the prediction now so you can nod along in approval at just how perfectly my data matches the globe Earth predictions? I guess all that's left now is to state that the null hypothesis is not supported by the data and that the experiment does support the alternate hypothesis.
As you saw, the geronometer contained one sundial tilted at 10 degrees, which was because we were at 80 degrees south, 10 degrees from the South Pole. This was an equatorial sundial, and even though it was angled at 10 degrees, the shadow length never changed on that sundial. And that's exactly what would happen on a globe and would make no sense whatsoever on a flat Earth. And I want you to take a close look at the shadow pattern on the other sundial that was made on the geronometer, the level sundial, which was not angled and did not account for our latitude. Notice the shadow pattern there. That shows the sun's altitude for our location in Antarctica. That pattern was not only accurately predicted by Where's Wally, as you can see with the black circles on the device, but this pattern was also very precisely predicted by someone from Hungary. His name is Takács János. After TFE was announced, he obtained the GPS coordinates of where we would be in Antarctica and made one of the most detailed and sophisticated shadow predictions I've ever seen. Here is the PDF, and I want you to take a careful look at this. This prediction is so precise, it has the shadow length in centimeters, down to the 10th of a centimeter. And something that might be easily missed is that this shadow prediction from Takács is so sophisticated, it was specifically for just a single day on the globe, December 16th, 2024. Now, before we look at what the shadows actually did at Union Glacier Camp in Antarctica for this experiment, I must point out the most important element here. The flat Earth community did not even attempt to make any predictions like these for the final experiment. The reason the globe side was not only willing but excited to make complex scientific instruments like Where's Wally did, and excited to make incredibly detailed predictions like Takács János did, was because of their confidence in the globe. A complicated scientific instrument like the geronometer, and such a precise prediction like the one from Takács, drastically increases the chances something won't work or even be wrong. Consider that Where's Wally and Takács have never been to Antarctica. And not only that, there doesn't exist a data set that people can look up shadow lengths at specific latitudes and longitudes and on specific days. So these predictions were true predictions based not on previous measurements from someone else, but based only on one thing: the globe. And not just the shape of the Earth, but also the size of the Earth, the axial tilt of the Earth, and the rotation of the Earth. All of those were taken into account in the creation of these instruments and predictions. The reason the flat Earth community did not even try to create scientific instruments for one of the TFE participants to take to Antarctica is because there isn't a single flat Earth prediction that would have any chance of coming true. Science is about making predictions and testing them, but there is nothing scientific about flat Earth whatsoever. And so any flat Earth prediction which contradicts what the globe model predicts will always be wrong. There is not a single prediction any flat earther can make which contradicts the globe that will come true. And so flat earthers refrain, rather refuse, to make many predictions at all. What made TFE so successful is that the flat earth community did make a handful of predictions in the past, which all had to do with the South.
But there is no midnight sun in Antarctica, right? You know, there's a 24-hour moon in the north, but not a 24-hour moon in the south. No one's at the South Pole because there is no South Pole. In the southern outer hemisphere, people say that the stars rotate in the opposite direction. They make circles in the opposite direction, and that can only happen on a ball Earth. I have yet to see any real proof of this.
All you have to do is watch which way it tracks. If it goes west by northwest, you're gonna be on you're on a flat Earth.
Of course, these were all demonstrably false, and we have documented and covered all of these in the Final Experiments series. But since flat earthers now know after TFE that any predictions they make, which are at odds with what the globe model predicts, will always be wrong, every single time. Watch, they are going to stop making predictions altogether. And while the remaining flat earthers will think this is a good strategy, it will actually backfire and cause more people to continue to leave the flat earth community. And it will prevent any new converts to flat earth. Getting back to Takac Janosch's incredibly sophisticated and detailed prediction of the shadows that would be created at Union Glacier on December 16th, 2024, MC Toon brought this large piece of paper with him to Antarctica. And I didn't know it at the time, but it was created by Takac and gave all the precise measurements down to the 10th of a centimeter of the shadow lengths based on time of day. I remember MC Toon creating these markers out of chunks of ice with the help of Dave McKeegan, and made sure to keep reminding us not to step on them. He had 2 foldable metric rulers with him, and he was meticulously measuring and placing ice chunks for hours. And while I was exhausted and thought he was crazy for spending so much time on this, I'm really glad he did, because the result is absolutely stunning. See the full time lapse of the results at the end of this video. The most important thing is that 2 people, one in Australia, Where's Wally, and one in Hungary, Takac Janosch, were able to make accurate predictions of shadows based solely on the latitude and longitude of where we would be in Antarctica and a specific sized globe with a specific axial tilt and rotation speed of 15 degrees per hour. So we can now add shadow predictions to the growing list of experiments and observations that were part of TFE that flat earthers have absolutely no answer for. Our trip to Antarctica was incredibly eye-opening, and everything we saw, learned, and documented is what is driving the current significant exodus from flat Earth. I originally created the final experiment specifically to observe and record the 24-hour sun in Antarctica. But every step of the way through our journey, other flat Earth predictions kept being falsified, and the globe model was confirmed over and over and over again. Make sure to check out all of these in our other videos in the Final Experiment series. And please share this video with anyone you know who is a flat earther or considering flat Earth. As Jesus said in John 8:32, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free.
So now if someone says the earth is round, okay, or someone says the earth is flat, they have to propose an experiment.
Let's do it.
That everyone agrees to. Okay.
I got it.
And then they go. So before we go there was a recent experiment that was done in Antarctica, right?
It was not an experiment. It was an observation of a light in the sky under very sketchy circumstances. Let me show you an experiment.
But that too, but Dave, that is an experiment.